Now, back in
on,
the day, felonies were not what they are.
Dale.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Dale. So we had
yeah.
OBS crashed on me.
We're offline.
I'm sorry. OBS crashed on me. I think we just started a new one. So,
Okay, so in
but I
plain
will say
terms,
this.
you're afraid
I
to
will
get.
say this. Everyone can hear you now at this point.
No,
Yeah.
they're saying. Oh, can they now?
Yeah, they can't. They can't.
Because
They
they were
can't.
saying they couldn't.
No, they definitely can now. I see the bars moving. So I apologize everyone for these technical difficulties, but I'm trying to learn this, so then that way we don't have these problems in the future. But nonetheless, Dale, do you want to take this from the top, or how do you want to do this?
I can certainly, squeeze together what I talked about already,
Okay.
and just mention this is a Second Amendment case. I've talked about these several times before, and the charge in the government was that you were in possession of a firearm or you transferred a firearm while you were illegally using a controlled substance. And what the Supreme Court has required the courts to look at is let's look back at the founding of the nation. What did they take your gun rights away for in those days? It was traditionally a felony. And these are not the felonies we have today. They were felonies or you were insane. Okay, those are the two reasons they would take your gun rights away. Okay, so what they're trying to argue is we're going to take felonies and we're going to make analogies to current conduct. And the court said, nah, we're not going to buy into that wholeheartedly because just because you make drug possession or use a felony doesn't mean our forefathers gave two shits about whether you smoked weed or drank laudanum or drank too much liquor. They didn't take your gun rights away for that. So what we have in this case is a direct confrontation between the federal governments believing they have the right to take your Second Amendment rights away because you smoke weed. And I don't know that they have a good argument for that because the first law that punished anybody for using controlled substances was in 1912, quite a long ways after we set the country up. And there was nothing in the Harrison Anti-Narcotic Act of 1912 that restricted your gun rights. And in fact, we didn't see a lot of gun right restrictions until the Black Panthers showed up with military rifles over their shoulder, and Malcolm X is saying there's no reason why we should smile and just take your shit. Maybe we're going to shoot back. All of a sudden, we got gun rules, prohibitions against felons in possessions of guns. And then in 1968, they tried to expand that to controlled substances. That was the first time, 1968, when anyone tried to control your gun use through a controlled substance law. And that's a couple days after 1789 when they set this whole thing up. So I'm not sure what this court's going to do, and we'll report on it later down the line. But it looks like even in the state of Texas, we got some people down there going, you know what? You're not going to step on our Second Amendment rights for some bullshit controlled substances claim because historically that's never been allowed. And in fact, when you got out of prison up until the 1900s, they gave you your guns back and told you to be on your way. There's a whole lot more battles to be fought here, even against felony convictions and things like that. So it's just another continuation of the story of trying to get people smoking weed to not lose their constitutional rights. I'm going to throw it back at you guys. What do you all think? Let's chat about this.
So, Dale, you're saying that this verdict could give people the rights to have their guns, even though that they consume cannabis. Am I correct on that, or am I missing something?
Well, in the federal system, this is at the district court level. And certainly they can make a decision that says that it'll be appealed. If it gets to the appellate level, now we have a much bigger deal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because an appellate court saying this, the entire region covered by the appellate court now has to follow that you cannot take your guns away just because you smoke weed. Okay, but we'll see,
Interesting.
because this is another place too. It's out of Pennsylvania where that sitting district attorney challenged it. And there's impetus around the country. If it ever gets to the Supreme Court, I suspect that they're going to find this unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question on that though. Like when you're talking about consuming cannabis or according to the ATF and the DEA, if you're an unlawful user of an illegal narcotic or drug, right? How is that affected by this spread and rise in popularity in THCA products in places like Texas, right? Because that's considered at this point federally legal, right? How do they define that? If I'm here smoking THCA in a house in Texas, I'm allowed to have a firearm, right? Even without this ruling.
Of course you are. And that's the problem. There's hypocrisy every place you look. Because you take a situation and stand one place, hey, I've got products, they're perfectly legal, and a THCA, it's the exact same product that is illegal if you call it cannabis or marijuana. It's hypocrisy. And the court should cut through this bullshit, because traditionally the use of controlled substances was your own beef, your own deal. If you're a teacher, figure it out. And they weren't going to go take your rights away unless you could be classified as mentally ill because of your addiction. That might be a different story. Just because you smoke weed, that's no one ever tried to stop that until 1970.
Don't take alcoholics' guns away, do we? I
No.
don't see anything like that. But how is that any different?
No, they definitely don't
Now
do
you're
that.
thinking,
Yeah, no. We try to make the distinction of it being an illegal federal narcotic, right? And this is even the I'll throw something else at you. So you could actually, if this ruling went through and say was upheld by the Ninth Circuit, just for the sake of argument, right? You could literally be in a state next to a state and it would be in violation. Like if you were in Colorado and the Ninth Circuit legalized or granted this ruling, you would see the person in Colorado couldn't have the gun. But somebody in any of the Ninth Circuit states, which would be Nevada, Washington, I believe Montana, California, it's huge. The swath is huge. So I'll back up a little bit. For people who don't understand how the federal system, what Dave was alluding to, at a district level, when the judge makes a ruling in the district level, that's like a part of a state, right? So the Eastern District, where Dale and I were prosecuted, is basically from Bakersfield up to the north part of the state, the central part of California, and that's it. The North District, the Bay Area, the Southern District is San Diego, and the Central District is Los Angeles. So when it's broken up, those rulings only affect those areas per se. They can be used in court by other appellate people who are appealing cases. They can be ruled in court. They can be used in court. They just don't have the weight that a higher ruling would have. Now, what Dale said, we go to the Ninth Circuit or to a higher circuit, to the appellate court. Those actually cover several states now. So now that ruling is in effect in states now. And then when it goes above the appellate court to the Supreme Court, of course, that would be the law of the nation. So this is a really interesting case here. This topic here, we've talked about it many times. I'm mad that we're even talking about it. Mm-hmm. Like I've stated clearly how foolish this is, that somebody who uses a medicinal plant is somehow barred from their Bill of Rights. You are taking away someone's rights because they use a medication or a substance that helps them function in some way. That is crazy to me. Now, when we get this figured out, we'll look back on this and say, wow, we were making it to where they couldn't protect their homes or go hunt in rural areas and stuff just because they used a plant. It'll be ridiculous. But right now we're in the mud and we're still dealing with this.
Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on this, Mandy? No? You're on mute, Mandy.
Nope.
No, all good. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, all I can say is pow pow and bang bang, and you know what I'm saying? Because cannabis people need to have some guns, and on that, we're going to go to a commercial, and we are going to be right back. I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smoky Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're going to smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go. Yay!
Or if that encompasses.
Oh, yeah.
Eric.
And we're back. I'm not sure if it encompasses it either, Luke. But nonetheless, we're going to roll right on into the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who you cannot see how happy his cabbage really is today because we're having a blackout. That's right. It's none other than the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Oh yeah, Jason, it's good to be on. So apologies in advance if my internet cuts out because we're having a little bit of a internet blackout here in Gardena, so I'm running from my phone. So appreciate y'all being patient with me. So my story today is all about making money.
Yeah.
According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor, average U.S. annual salary in Q4 of 2023 is $59,384, up 5.4% from the same time period in 2022. Average American was making $56,316 per year. The average annual salary in California cannabis industry is $75,000 or $36. Not bad on the surface, but while I was ZipRecruiter dug a little deeper into what kind of jobs actually demand 70,000 average in cannabis. Overwhelming result of positions that fall within that 70 to 80,000 sweet spot are sales positions, inside, outside, and hybrid sales, with most workers clocking in well above the U.S. Labor Department's recommended 40 hours a week. Right, so average sales guys are working between 50 and 60 hours a week to get that 75,000, which is crazy to me. What's worse than that, Yahoo Finance said that in 2024, minimum salary in California resident would need to be "quote unquote" happy, $143,000, triple the average of American salary and nearly double the average California cannabis employees rate. What if you could get a job that would substitute that missing 70,000 with a little mood booster than your job description, something that it probably the cost of gas, crime, traffic, politics, and all the other shit that drag on California's cost of living, the happiness ratio. Jason, would you say that getting paid $70,000 a year to smoke weed, would you call that a dream job?
I mean, it's as long as you can have other jobs, I think it's a great side job. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'd snatch that one up in a heartbeat if I could work somewhere else.
Yep, I'm definitely.
There's a lot of social media content associated with that, right?
I'm definitely
taking videos of yourself.
I'm definitely gonna apply for this job. That's for sure.
You gotta put some work in this. So one California.
How do I apply? How do I apply?
Yeah, right. So
I feel like I'm an expert. I'm a shoo-in for this job.
You can find a link for it in at highat9.com.
I think
so. Day savers.
I'll let you guys know how it pans out.
I think Mandy's saying that she's a shoo-in for this because of her shoe collection at home. Just saying.
I'm just saying. You know what this article showed me is that I'm a below average mo.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get above average, man. All my people around me must be below average too, because I don't know nobody making like 100 anymore.
I was gonna say I have something to say about those averages. I think they're being skewed by the Adam Biermans and the other guys taking those big $10 million comp packages from these MSOs.
Where's the bell curve on this?
Well, seriously, this company Day Savers, right? They're offering what they call the ultimate stoner job, an opportunity to smoke and test out the trending cannabis products, take part in an array of cannabis industry events, and share it with the world. So basically, you're paid $70,000 to be an influencer. Imagine getting paid to smoke, savor, and review a variety of ancillary pre-roll and smoking products. Day Savers utilizing an alternative way to fill the unique creative position, and says that you'd be a full-time content creator, event marketer, and be chosen to earn $70,420 and complete with annual bonuses, travel expenses, and other perks that come along with it. So you'll have the chance to be selected for one of many part-time jobs with similar tasks too. So you can have other jobs on top of that, Jason.
I love that.
And the role depends. Yeah, so the role all depends on the type of content that you make, and you can go ahead and get cash. Right?
So hold up, Rico.
$70,000. Yep.
I just typed everything that you said. I just typed that into AI, and it spit out 2 words. It's just brand ambassador.
Cute.
That sounds about right. Do they say anything about THCA? How do they feel about THCA?
You can go ahead and test that too. Make some content about it.
THCA.
THCA. It fills.
Listen. I got a dope skit. Listen, I'm copywriting this, but I got a dope skit. We'll do THCA like a Richard Pryor skit. We'll have THCA all over us. It'll be like a THCA party with people getting all wild and stuff. Yeah, it's awesome. Let's do that. We're bringing it back to the 80s, baby.
I can just see I can just see the ad right now. These what do they call them, Rico? Because they're not cones. What do they call them?
They're called for these day savers.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
I think they're called cylinders. I think they're called cylinders. I think they call them.
Yeah. It's more like a cigarette look to it.
Oh, yeah. And, no. I love this product already just because I think cones are probably the most stupidest thing for people to smoke, and it's just degenerates watching people just sit there and pack them aimlessly. It's like so stupid. I'm just like, why can't you just figure out how to roll a joint? It's just crazy to me. But I do like the shape of these things, and I would do a video that was like, hey, look, weed and THCA all fill these things the same way.
Jason, you sound almost like the old grandma that like sees a shirt come out of a factory and it's like, why aren't you kids making your t-shirts anymore? Like, people aren't gonna roll up in 2024 anymore, bro. Like that's an antiquated thing.
No,
listen, you can do it. There's a few people on this call that can do it right now, but that's it.
I don't buy that. I don't buy that. I don't buy the thought process that rolling is a lost art. I'm not buying that at all. And people that smoke cones, they should just learn to roll, because it doesn't even make sense to light all that flower up at that big base and then have it skinny down to a smaller. That doesn't even make sense for how cannabis burns. That's just like so stupid.
Yeah.
I also, for me personally, I can roll straight faster than I can pack a cone.
I could roll something way faster than I could pack a cone.
Yeah, absolutely the same.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I agree with you. I don't think it's necessarily a lost art, Jason, but I do think it was kind of funny the way that we said you sound like an old guy telling people to make their own t-shirts.
I mean, you're gonna say that. You're gonna say that anytime someone says I sound like an old guy. I mean, that's a default answer for you, Soham.
Is it?
people want ease of use.
Don't mean it ain't true though, Soham. Remember that.
Everyone wants to take the.
I don't feel like Jason always.
What's that, Luke?
I was say I don't like you always sound like an old guy. Sometimes you sound like a toddler for sure, bro.
Oh, that was cute. Real cute, Luke. Real cute. Oh,
man.
Yep. Here we go.
Let's keep this shit spicy.
Yeah, that's pretty spicy. Are you ready, Rico?
I am ready.
All right.
And so.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to my story.
Coming up next. You gonna go to yours?
Yep.
Luke next?
No, I'm
next.
Yeah, we're going to mine.
Going to Jason. All right. So up next we have the head honcho here at High at 9 News, known for smoking the best in the world, also known for flip-flopping all over the world with his man Donald Trump, because whatever Donald Trump says goes. It could be this green. It could be that water is purple. But if Donald Trump says it, this man is going to parrot everything that he says and just be his bird all the way to the worst election cycle in the history of life.
Are you talking about the 3-time champ? He's about to be the 3-time champ in elections. Just saying.
The highest Republican in the room right now, Mr. Jason Beck. What do you have for us today, my man?
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Rico. Good morning, everybody. Again, you all, I apologize for the technical difficulties going on. But I have this little story for you. I think you might find it interesting, and I think you're going to find it extremely interesting, Rico. Travis Kelce says his year-long marijuana suspension was a red flag for Cowboys in a resurfaced clip. The NFL Scouting Combine is where draft prospects make or break their grade. Of course, it's not the end-all be-all of how one career will go, and Travis Kelce is the prime example. A good combine can see players fly up the charts. Bad ones can see players dip in power rankings. However, lots of teams make decisions not necessarily based on the field tests, but the ones off the field. And just in that, I do remember all of my football coaches always telling us to be winners on and off the field, and that things that we do off the field could impact recruiters' decisions. I do remember them drilling that into our heads. But nonetheless, however, lots of teams make decisions not necessarily based on the field test, but the ones off the field. And front offices met with countless prospects throughout the combine for interviews, some of which have turned infamous with some wild questions. For Kelce, one interview was particularly over before it started. A clip of Kelce explaining his, in quotes, bad interviews at the Combine has resurfaced on social media. Even though it is a year old, it still offers insight into how some of the interviews go for highly touted prospects. In a quote, "At the Combine, I had some bad interviews," Kelce said on his podcast with his brother Jason. However, one in particular seems like one the team wants back. The Dallas Cowboys, they were kind of pressing me about having this red flag of missing a year. Kelce was suspended an entire season due to a positive marijuana test while he was in New Orleans for the 2010 Super Bowl in Cincinnati. Despite Kelce trying to convince the Cowboys they had no reason to be concerned, the interview ended really fast. I basically just said, if you guys think I'm going to be that kind of guy, or you're questioning if I'm still that person after everything that I've battled through to get to where I am now from missing a season, then you guys should probably go somewhere else and pick somebody else, he says. The Cowboys selected Gavin Escobar with the 47th overall pick in 2013, while Kelce fell to 63, the first selection of the third round by the Kansas City Chiefs. Kelce, of course, may just be the best tight end of all time, and Escobar, meanwhile, was out of the league by 2017 after playing just 62 games with the Cowboys, catching 30 passes for 333 yards and 8 touchdowns, something Kelce can do in several weeks' span, you guys. Well, is this just proof that cannabis will help your performance? And that the fact that the NFL needs to get with their whole cannabis program, and all of these teams need to evolve on the cannabis issue. But nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all got to say about this, Travis Kelce?
I fucking love this story for a couple of reasons. First of all, you know, Mr. Swift is doing his thing, and he's showing he was, even with his cannabis suspension, that he can end up being a very talented and successful athlete. But on a larger scale, I like this mentality of this is how successful cannabis users should approach potential employers. If you're going to discriminate against me because I use cannabis off the clock, then I don't want to fucking work for you. And that's how I hope that pre-employment drug screening moves that at a larger scale, not just for athletes, but for them as well.
1000%. And I think it's so impactful to have something like come to light just because of especially the magnitude of where he's standing right now, his position in our culture, right? Our country. He's looked at as this type of person to aspire to be like. He has this beautiful, successful partner. He's successful himself. His family is successful at this sport. Like, there is a long-standing history of a credible human being here, and he's a weed user.
Also,
Just saying.
just shake it off.
Do you think?
I could not agree. I could not agree with Mandy and Soho more. Let me go hard right now on the Dallas Cowboys and Jerry Jones. Okay, this is not the first time that Jerry Jones has done this. Okay, Travis Kelce is just highlighting something that the Dallas Cowboys have done repeatedly. They have passed over superstar athletes in their draft because of cannabis use. And has come back to bite them time and time again. They did this with Randy Moss. You guys now that's 2 goats that you literally have passed over because they use cannabis, Jerry Jones. I know you're a billionaire. I know you make a lot of money in oil, but some decisions that you make are very foolish. Those 2 are really highlighted in the news and in history because you have passed over not only one of the best wide receivers of all time, but you have passed over one of the best tight ends of all time, and they're calling you out for it. And I guarantee the next time that you go through that draft and somebody says, hey, this superstar right here had got caught smoking weed in high school or at a game or a suspension, you better believe Jerry Jones is going to take a look at him because he's not going to be made a fool of when he misses the 3rd goat that comes through his state.
Well, yeah, you say that, but I feel like he is going to.
Well, hold
'Cause
on.
that's-
Hold
I
on.
hope he does.
I
hope he does.
Guys. I have a question for you guys because it appears that the Dallas Cowboys don't have a problem with players smoking crack cocaine while they're players, but apparently have a problem with cannabis because Michael Irvin got caught smoking crack right before the Super Bowl and still was able to play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I was gonna say like
And also,
rich is
how many
rich
people
that
are
Jerry
on
Jones
opioids?
has those more. Oh yeah, they juice dudes up with opioids. But I was gonna say for Jerry Jones, who owned the Cowboys in the '90s, to making moral judgments about what players do in free time is a very rich thing to say.
They had a house. The Dallas Cowboys had a house. They have it in like the 30 for 30. I don't remember where I saw it. I saw it somewhere on one of these interviews. They had a house that they just had hookers and cocaine at like constantly over in Dallas. And it was a party house. The whole team knew about it. The administration knew about it. So like, yeah, it's a total hypocrisy. I just like that it came back to bite him in the ass. Straight up.
What do you think? What do you think?
That's got to be
this?
one of the
It's-
dumbest draft decisions of all time.
What do you
this
think
story
about this,
was
Rico?
just written for him. I mean, we
Rico-
all read it.
Rico,
but it
what do you
was-
think about this,
I think
Rico?
he dropped.
Hold on, Rico.
I think he dropped.
Oh, Rico dropped? Oh, his internet fucking dropped. Oh, son of a bitch. We lost Rico, former football star.
That
Oh,
F
man.
word was brought to you by Hyatt Nights.
Yeah, cute.
This
Luke,
is an
cute
image
Luke.
problem. And I was a Raider fan precisely because they didn't give a fuck what you did. Stabbed you, you fucked up.
Yeah.
If you can play football, we want you on the team. So, and I'm still in my heart, I'm a heartbroken Raiders fan. I look at Jerry Jones. You tie us fucking assholes. You're trying to portray this image for the all-American people, but you can't sustain it because you scratch and sniff a little bit. And you're hypocrites. Okay? They don't want to change. They want this all-American image, and half of America is smoking weed. And you got to change. Open your mind up a little bit. You know, change your marketing scheme a little bit. Maybe consider being a human being and move forward. I don't know if he can do it or not. Maybe you have to die first.
I mean, Jerry Jones missing out on this Taylor Swift publicity and money is honestly making me crack up because that's hilarious. What a dumbass.
I just can't wait for the trap brand to come out with with her brand in the trap world, because you know. Like,
Hold on, though.
What's that?
Go ahead, Jay.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
know if you guys can see my shirt, by the way.
We can't see your shirt, unfortunately. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
she actually has shake pre-rolls coming out. They're called Shake It Offs.
Oh,
They're gonna be coming to a store near you.
Oh man, that's a great. I like that. I like that idea, Luke. Oh man.
Well,
shake
hold
it
on though.
off.
Let me bring it. Let's bring it. I want to bring it back to your store quick. I just want to say in closing, Gavin Escobar. Gavin Escobar is who you picked, Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yep. He's like.
Wishing and hoping.
He's picking the wrong.
Gavin
guy.
Escobar is working at Walmart right now.
I
Exactly.
like Lyle Alzado.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, but you picked him over Travis Kelce to play football. Maybe Gavin Escobar's better at working at Walmart than Travis Kelce. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
I feel like the Al Davis estate should look into purchasing the Cowboys from Jerry Jones, so then that way they don't have these reactionary decisions happen to their team anymore. What do you think about that, Dale?
The son of bitches would move it to some other city. That's what they did to me. They broke my heart.
No.
To LA
Yeah, I
and then
mean-
moved to Las Vegas. You
You can trust anybody who, if you look at Mark Davis's haircut and that man's barber has been employed for how long, like, I very much question his judgment every day.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm a Broncos fan, you know.
Yeah, we're gonna go into a commercial and we are gonna be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Yes, and we're back. Whatever you do, make sure you hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And next week, I do believe that we are going to be at Hall of Flowers, so make sure you come and check us out over there Wednesday and Thursday. We may even possibly be doing the show live from Hall of Flowers, but stay tuned and we shall see.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Yes, coming up next, that's right, we have Mr. Luke Scarmazzo. He's a one-time felon that didn't do no telling, and his book, High Price, you can find on Amazon and everywhere else books are sold. Coming up next to the stage is none other than Luke Scarmazzo.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy Humpy. It's your neighborhood local. And I guess right here, I'm going to be a little bit national outlaw correspondent for your outlaw correspondent news at High at 9. So here I got a really interesting case here. We were talking about the appellate's courts, district courts earlier. So this kind of loops kind of right into that vein. And I won't waste anybody's time because we're getting close to the cut time here. But I will say I'm glad that Jason is going to be at Hall of Flowers because me and some of the homies need to get snuck in. So I'll be on the entrance, be like on the south entrance. I'll be by the gate right there. If anybody could pop that gate, get me and about 4 guys in, it'd be cool. I can kind of there, stick around and do our thing with profit. So, that's how we got to grind. Mm-hmm. But here we go. Federal court gives serial cannabis litigators reprieve in California. An appellate panel reversal gives the cohort another fighting chance in federal court. The Michigan, who has waged court wars over various cannabis social equity programs residency rules around the country, has been handed a temporary victory in California. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit on Monday reversed a lower court's decision that had previously sidestepped a lawsuit by Peridot Tree Incorporated, a company that with majority ownership by a Michigan resident, Kenneth Gay, challenging Sacramento's cannabis licensing program's residency requirements. This is very interesting right here because this is one of the things that we see in all of these social equity programs is a residency requirement. Some of them are 2 years, some of them are 5 years, some of them you just have to be current resident, but it's a bunch of requirements that people have challenged now. They're starting to say, hey, wait a second, maybe is it constitutional to do this? And I'm gonna tell you why in a second. So it said the company argued against the Cannabis Opportunity Reinvestment and a core program claiming that its stipulation that participants must be current or former Sacramento residents was unconstitutional under the Dormant Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. Okay, so the Commerce Clause is how the federal government invokes jurisdiction over cannabis currently today. By saying that cannabis can transfer over states and affect black markets in other states, right? That means that it invokes the Commerce Clause of the federal government, and the federal government now has jurisdiction over that substance. That's how we end up in federal with anything to do with cannabis. That's how they did the raids. That's how Dale and I went to prison. So this Commerce Clause now is being used against this core program and saying basically that, hey, if I qualify as for social equity in, say, Jersey, there should be no reason why I can't open a business in Sacramento just because I don't live in Sacramento. You're basically saying that you be like a t-shirt company in New Jersey trying to open a t-shirt store in Sacramento and them saying you have to live here. Now, I understand we have a lot of other different things moving on it, and that's really, really simplified, but that's the analogy. Here we go. The Dormant Commerce Clause typically prohibits state legislation that discriminates against or excessively burdens interstate commerce. In this case, Peridot Trees contends that Sacramento's residency requirements for cannabis licensing unfairly restricted out-of-state economic participants, thereby breaching federal law. Previously, U.S. District Court Judge Kimberly J. Mueller had abstained from taking on this case, deferring instead to the state court's proceedings due to the federal illegality of marijuana and the perceived complexities involved. Basically, she didn't want to take on this case because it was federal law and state law conflicting. You had to deal with state courts and decisions and had to mesh that into federal law, and it's a mess. It's a mess of the stuff that we're dealing with right now. It's a mess of why people are still in prison, because we have all these conflicting laws and conflicting policies. And this judge didn't want anything to do with it, and I don't blame her. He cites various Supreme Court doctrines of nation, which traditionally allow federal courts to refrain from deciding cases that touch on intricate state regulatory schemes or ambiguous state laws. Other municipalities in the state, such as Los Angeles, joined Sacramento in urging the Ninth Circuit to uphold the abstention. Gay's cohort of other serial litigators, I don't know what I guess they're saying like these a lot of cannabis litigation, and they're calling them a cohort.
They're the ambulance chasing lawyers.
Right.
Yeah.
I just like the terminology of cohort of serial litigators. Like that sounds great as a description of a group of lawyers, a cohort of serial litigators.
Yeah, that's what you want behind you,
awesome.
Luke. That's what you want standing behind
Dale,
you. Right
I'll let you get all. I'll let Dale get all over that in a second. But including a Beverly Hills lawyer who appeared to be in the across the country, have seen mixed results in similar challenges in other states, including New York and Washington. However, the appellate panel disagreed with the hands-off approach, stating that the residency requirements were not ambiguous and that the case did not meet the traditional criteria for federal abstention. According to the Ninth Circuit, even with potential ambiguity, I can't say that word for some reason. Ambiguities, excuse me. In state law, the core issue of the Federal Commerce Clause remains unaffected and should be adjudicated in federal court. The panel's decision, penned by U.S. Circuit Judge Salvador Mendoza Jr., said that federal courts could not avoid the case simply because the case involved complex interplays of state and federal law, particularly when the constitutional claims are at stake. Quote, given the clarity of the city's residency requirements, precedent interpreting similar requirements, and the lack of state law issues that might narrow or moot the federal constitutional claim, Peridot's tree suit does not meet the requirements of Pullman's abstention, Mendoza wrote. So basically he said, you can't pull yourself off this case and say that you don't want to do it because it doesn't meet the requirements. Gay's attorney told Law 360 that the plaintiffs are happy that the Ninth Circuit reached a proper decision and that the district court stay will be lifted so that they can proceed with the process. So going back to this, I think this really we're going to see a lot of constitutional arguments arise out of these social equity programs, because these social equity programs, the intention of trying to create equity. I'm not saying these are bad intentioned policies. People came to the table here and tried to create policies, but in that intention, they over-regulated and put a lot of requirements and stipulations that aren't going to hold up in federal court, because they frankly, they're just not constitutional. So when you see things like this come in, we're going to see a lot of these core programs and social equity programs be stripped of some of these requirements, some of these restrictions. For one, I agree with it. It's up the open market. I don't care if you come from New York and you did 15 years in prison and you want to open sure, you should get a social equity license. And it should be vice versa if you're from Sacramento and you want to get a social equity license in New York. If you were impacted negatively by prohibition, it could have been federal agents who impacted you by prohibition, and my federal agents could be from Virginia. So why should I only qualify in the city that I live in? It's ridiculous. It's a constitutional violation that will not be upheld if it meets the right standard. I'll kick this back, and I know Dale has a lot of interesting input to say on this, and Soham and Mandy and Jason, let's chop this up and see what this is about here.
First, the cohort of litigators, that's the Trial Lawyers Association. They're looking for ways to make money. So I mean, and sometimes if I find, other times it's like I can't take a shower fast enough to get the fucking stench off me. But the bigger question here, Luke, and the Jensens have tried to manipulate this to get in the right court. We got a decision out of the East Coast, I think it was Maine or something like that, where they got to an appellate court and they said, yeah, the dormant commerce clause is applied. But the other decisions come out of these federal courts that said, hang on, the federal government exercised its Commerce Clause authority and said, we prohibit this. So all these other arguments are only going to be local state arguments. You can't bring the federal government into this, the local equity rules and regulations, because we've said this is all illegal. And I suspect that if the Ninth Circuit gets this case, they're going to be thinking the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, it's going to leave the local equity people, they're going to take away the Dormant Commerce Clause, my suspicion is. And we may get up to the Supreme Court over this, and we could have the conservative justices look at this and say, this whole thing is horseshit. We're throwing the entire Controlled Substances Act out as it goes to marijuana. And now, there's any difference anymore. I mean, I keep hoping for that. But the problem is, by the time you drive that truck up to the front of the Supreme Court to look at our inventory, it may be on here. There may be all sorts of shit going on.
Right.
Oh.
I think that is the play, Dale. I think that in the long game is, and I think it goes up to the Ninth Circuit. I don't think the Ninth Circuit looks at this very favorably. However, I do think if this makes it to the Supreme Court, how the Supreme Court is stacked and ideology. I can't speak today. The ideology breakdown of the Supreme Court, the way it is right now, I believe this would be an interesting subject for them to review. We'll see.
The only justice still around since the Raich decision is Clarence Thomas. Okay, we've got an entirely new group of people and how they think about this. And Thomas was very critical. He said that the 10th Amendment stands for something. States have power over the traditional police powers here. It's their call. So I think that Thomas could be very influential, although he's not one of those outspoken guys. He does shit in closed doors, and he puts it in writing. You'll have some outspoken people, but I think that the Controlled Substances Act that comes to marijuana is on a life support right now. That shit needs to go away.
I
Agreed.
Yeah, no, I agree with all you guys' assessments. I think the Supreme Court is definitely the way to go of how we need to be able to get this thing done in a quick, orderly fashion, because if we wait on Congress, we're going to still be waiting for another 20, 30, 40 years for them to act and get their stuff together and whatnot. So I do agree with that the courts are the way to go, and especially after their recent verdict. Was it 9-0? You guys, their most recent verdict, 9-0. They was unanimous. throughout
I don't
the
know if that's
judges?
the verdict.
Nobody was paying attention to that one, Jason.
I bet they're not paying attention. They'll be paying attention on election day, that's for sure. But nonetheless, so did you have anything that you wanted to throw in on this?
I mean, not necessarily. I think, obviously we'll see what happens, but I agree with mostly with Luke and Dale's assessment, and of course, Rico has been pretty outspoken on this topic in the past, so I'm just excited to see what comes from those courts. And like you said, Jason, if we want to wait for our federal legislature to do it, we're going to be waiting forever.
Exactly.
I think we'll know that rescheduling is coming once Nancy Pelosi starts buying these MSO stocks. That's about to happen.
Oh, I like what you did there. I see what you did there. That was a good jab right there. That was a solid jab right there. So, and on that, we're gonna go to a commercial. We're gonna be right back.
Get ready for the 20-year anniversary celebration of the Emerald Cup. The Emerald Cup will be held at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts in downtown Oakland, May 4th and 5th. Get your tickets now for best pricing. Cannabis categories include flower, pre-rolls, solventless concentrates, solvent concentrates, cartridges, edibles, topicals, tinctures, and alternative cannabinoids. So enter early for your chance to be a winner at the 20-year anniversary Emerald Cup competition.
Oh, bro.
You actually.
Exciting.
Oh, you guys are so funny. Just follow everything that Pelosi does. But coming up next, we're going to follow everything that Mandy Tingler does. She's an Emerald Cup judge, and upcoming this month, she has the Women's Cano Awards, where there's going to be some lucky ladies that are going to win the opportunity to get their brands in retail stores. That's right. It is none other than Miss Mandy Tingler.
Good morning, everybody. Here, Carmen Sacramento coming at you out of Sacramento for High at 9 News today. My story comes to us from a very special doctor in Kentucky. I'm pretty sure has never even tried cannabis, but she's an expert. So,
I love hearing expert.
Me too. Kentucky doctor warns parents to be aware of marijuana use signs in children. Out of Lexington, Kentucky, Dr. Angela Houchin is a pediatrician, UK Healthcare. She says the effects of vaping marijuana are much stronger than smoking it. Marijuana that is in vapes specifically is 60 to 80% concentrate, compared to what they used to call a joint, which used to be just 20% THC. Part of her concern, Dr. Houchin says, is that you often don't know how your body will respond, especially when children and teens use these vapes. You've probably seen multiple of the news stories, people found in school hallways, just out. And then they find out that they had used a marijuana vape, says Dr. Houchin. On Friday, the Wayne County Sheriff's Office said a high school student was found unresponsive in a hallway after using a THC vape pen. They say another student, 18-year-old Alexander Davalos, sold the pen to the student. He was arrested on felony and misdemeanor charges. Dr. Houchin said if you're worried your child may be under the influence of marijuana, there are some signs you can watch for. Here we go. Get ready. Get your pen out. Typical symptoms of marijuana use include bloodshot eyes.
Ooh.
It could be anxious, jittery. They often will have a voracious appetite after consuming marijuana. And
unlike normal teenagers.
Hold on. And they just get very high and chill for some people, says Dr. Houchin.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Listen, do not smoke because you might get really high and chill.
Yeah. Now, parents, if you find a THC vape pen in your child's possession, Dr. Houchin says you should have a conversation with them about it and consider reaching out to their pediatrician. Now, you guys, Dr. Houchin, I'm sure, is very well intentioned, but she sounds like an idiot. And I'm really curious to see how this article made y'all feel. This is Carmen Sacramento coming at you live with some high at 9 nonsense out of Kentucky.
I want to add to her advice for parents: if you find a cannabis vape in your child's possessions, the first thing that you should do is take a hit of it to make your kid smoking some mids.
Oh man.
Man. Listen, this Houchin, Doc Houchins, she says if you find out that your kid is under any of these symptoms, call a pediatrician. Did she leave her card on the bottom of that article? Did it sound like a promo? But let me break a couple things down real quick. And maybe Mandy, can you clarify this? Did I hear that? They said that a kid hit a THC vape and they found him in a school hallway unresponsive?
Responsive.
Okay, in a medical terminology, and I might be off here, but in most, when somebody is unresponsive medically, they're almost dead, right? Like they're unconscious. You can't bring them back. Like they're maybe considering defibrillators or something.
You've been performing CPR, whatever, and they're just totally unresponsive to that. Yes, you're correct on that, Luke.
Right. Okay, so this lady is basically saying because THC vapes, which could be 60 to 80% THC, and flower is only 20%. So because this THC percentage has increased now, you now will hit these vapes, and your children will go unresponsive in the hallways of their school because the THC percentage has increased by 40%. This type of nonsense coming out of a doctor who is employed by the University of Kentucky. These people are educating the next generation of doctors. People, this lady should be pulled off of her position. These are the type of comments that she called out for the buffoonery that they are. Okay, you come here and you just spew this absolute nonsense that has no medical basis and no scientific basis, and then you hit them at the end with like, yo, and if you have any of these things happen, like call a pediatrician, wink wink, I'm Dr. Hutchins and I work for University of Kentucky. This is appalling. I'm hashtag Dr. Hutchins retire, hashtag calling for your resignation. Let's do that.
You can call her and she'll give you a clinical diagnosis for your child that they are very chilled out.
Yeah.
And
Don't let your child smoke weed because they might.
Hold on, Luke. This is the thing. Is this doctor, I'm sure, supplies tons of different pharmaceutical drugs. And if you listen to, like, if this was a pharmaceutical ad commercial, those side effects do not even sound nearly as bad as all of the side effects that we see on advertisements for pharmaceutical drugs every single day on television, national television.
If I have to take a medication and the worst thing that I get is an appetite and I get high and ill, I feel like those are pretty good side effects for whatever it is that it's curing for me.
Especially if you're anorexic, Luke. Especially if you're anorexic, that's a great side effect.
I've had these fights with doctors face to face. I was married to one for a long time, a lot of family. And I've gone toe-to-toe with these fucking knuckleheads, knuckle draggers in the industry. And they don't teach cannabis medicine in medical school. In fact, they try to hide from it. They got their head up their ass about it. And that was one of the complaints Molly had. She smoked weed prolifically, but no one ever taught her about it when she was in medical school. And so this is building on hysteria. It's a logical fallacy of reference to authority when the authority doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. You take a lot of THC, one of the expected effects is that you're going to be non-responsive for a while. Let's knock your ass out. It used to be what they used it for, okay? It was expected. No one got concerned about it. And they use vapes because they got critical. Oh, you're smoking, vegetable mass can be holy. Okay, then let's let you vape it. If you take a hit off a vape pen and you're high enough and you go, okay, I've had enough with one hit, I stop. You smoke 4 dubs, okay, maybe stop this, but they're complaining, oh, you're taking too much shit in your lungs. They complain about everything because they don't want to look at the hard facts. People want to do this. If you're a parent and your kid is anywhere near the age of smoking weed, drinking alcohol, trading your pharmaceuticals out of your cabinet, anything, you better be having honest discussions with them. It's the same about sex. It's a parent's responsibility. Educate your kids. But the problem is so many parents have their head up their ass too, and they listen to people like this. Oh, I'm a doctor telling you this is horrible. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, I don't recommend you do this, but I remember kids in school taking barbitol and having an arm around in the hallway at high school, and they can barely stand up. Okay, that ain't a brand new phenomenon. You're playing around with drugs, and you shouldn't be. We should talk to you and evaluate. And what are you doing? But the problem here is hysteria. And people build on hysteria. This is a logical fallacy. This woman's full of shit. And every government expert I've ever looked into is full of shit about this. They don't want to look at it objectively. They want to scare people.
I will say, I think there is progress happening in the medical community and in medical schools. I think prior to the 1990s, the endocannabinoid system was not a part of the core medical school curriculum.
It's still not.
Since then, it has been. It is now, I believe, it's part of the core curriculum for MDs. But just I have several cousins that are physicians too, and I've seen a noticeable shift in the perception towards cannabis and its use as a medicine and as therapy from young doctors versus our aunts and uncles and the generation before us. There's a very noticeable shift. So I mean, at least there's some progress happening. Probably it's a matter of some of these dinosaurs need to either get with the times or move on and let fresh young blood come in, and these positions at university research hospitals. Hint, looking at you, University of Kentucky.
Yeah, definitely. I agree 100%. And it's okay. Like I used to tell people this in prison all the time, because this is a case in prison and Dale will relate to this. It's okay to say you don't know. It's okay to tell me that. Listen, Dr. Houchin, it's okay to just say, I don't know. I don't know what the effects of THC in the cannabinoid system and the endocannabinoid system are. It's okay to say that.
I mean, like,
you weren't taught. You weren't taught it.
Did she just do like a Wikipedia search like back in 2005 and just like save a copy and regurgitate it in this article? I mean, come on.
Nah, she's information from Kevin Sabet.
Yeah, Kevin Sabet, and then she had some old Dare pamphlets.
This definitely has Kevin Sabet.
I have to wonder how old this is too. Is this doctor like 85 years old? Like, who is she?
This definitely.
Hey, can we get Kevin Sabet? Can we get Kevin Sabet on the High at 9 News?
Slow.
You get Kevin Sabet on.
I would love that. He would never come on here.
Slow down.
He's gonna need some Xanax bars to be around us.
Yeah. Coming up, we're gonna keep this train rolling. You guys are getting a little too crazy, and we're a little over time too. But coming up next, with over a decade of regulated cannabis technology and data experience under his belt, our next correspondent stays on his grind. So you know it's no surprise that he's currently working on a pro athlete focused lifestyle all at the same damn time. That's right. Give it up for none other than Mr. Soham Shah.
Thank you, Jason. And yes, in that vein of athletes and cannabis, and going off of the Kelce story from earlier, we're going to talk a little bit more about cannabis consumers and exercise. So, according to a new study, marijuana consumers walk more and exercise just as much as non-users, challenging the stereotype of the lazy stoner, which I think that probably several people on the show and in industry advocates and advocates for the plant have been saying this for a long time, but now we have an actual study to back up that claim. So according to the study, people who use marijuana take more walks on average compared to non-users and e-cigarette smokers or vapors, according to the findings of a new study that challenged the stereotype of cannabis consumers being less active. The study, published in the Journal of Medicine Reports late last month, also found that marijuana consumers are no less likely to engage in basic exercise and strength training compared to non-users. Researchers at the University of Texas at Dallas and Ohio University carried out the study, which was based on data on about 2,500 adults who participated in the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent to Adult Health from 2016 to 2018. Results indicated that participants' marijuana and e-cigarette use predicted their walking for exercise, with marijuana users walking the number of times per week, followed by non-users, e-cigarette users, and dual users, they found. However, this effect only approached significantly after controlling for the covariates. There was no significant differences in strength training, or general exercise between the groups. Authors said the study is among the first of its kind to explore the relationship between marijuana and e-cigarette use and exercise behavior, accounting for different exercise types. They concluded that marijuana use is not significantly related to engagement in a particular type of physical activity. Findings that challenge a stereotype: marijuana and e-cigarette users are less active than their non-using counterparts. As to the question of why marijuana consumers more often than non-users, the study authors theorize that this may be due to some adults using cannabis to increase their motivation for and enjoyment of exercise, or concentration of marijuana users in urban areas. Yeah, so that first one I think is exactly what we were talking about earlier with Travis Kelce, and obviously he's not the first to publicly talk about his cannabis use, but we've been saying this for a long time. To the point about increased enjoyment of cannabis use, a study published in December also found that marijuana consumption prior to exercise can lead to greater enjoyment and an enhanced runner's high. A study published last July surveyed 49 runners and found that participants experienced less negative effect, greater feelings of positive effect, tranquility, enjoyment, and more runner's high symptoms during their cannabis versus non-cannabis runs. Participants did run 31 seconds slower per month use marijuana, but researchers said that it was not statistically significant. The positive effects of cannabis that the runners reported consist of the findings of a 2019 study, which found that people who use marijuana to elevate their workout tend to get a healthier amount of exercise. Older people who consume cannabis are also more likely to engage in physical activity, according to another study that was published in 2020. Similarly, in another stereotype busting study that was published in 2020, researchers found that frequent marijuana users are actually more likely to be physically active compared to their non-using counterparts. So this is a really interesting study that's just continuing to add to the plethora of studies that are basically shattering this idea that stoners are lazy. And this article was written by Kyle Yeager over at Marijuana Moment, so definitely want to give him a shout for that. But looking forward to hear what everyone else thoughts. Personally, I love to smoke a joint before I go to the gym or before I go to the park and play some basketball or play some soccer or something. It is a huge motivator for me.
I mean, I'm the same way. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mandy.
To say I'm the same exact. I have a much more enjoyable workout. I feel like I get out of my head and more into my body every time. So it's like a mental enhancer for me.
I'm a little bit different in that I do not like to smoke before I work out or anything like that at all, but I do like to smoke afterwards. But before, I can't. I did it one time, and I was lifting weights, and like all of a sudden I started pushing one arm to harder than the other, and started messing up the weights, and man, it was a bad situation almost for a second.
If you try and it don't work, then don't do it.
Exactly, Dale. Exactly.
Listen.
Exactly.
I'm saying, listen, strong weed isn't for everybody, Jason. So I just want to go ahead and lead in with that. And then I'm going to say, when I used to smoke before I was placed on federal probation. I was more of a before the workout and after the workout. Mm-hmm. But on some real talk, like when I used to smoke before I would run, the runs, and it's funny the term
used to get the runs,
had used in the,
used to get the runs, huh?
No, when Soham would use in the article, it was disassociation, and I'm gonna say yes, and I'm gonna say no on that term, because I'm gonna say yes in the sense of like when you do consume cannabis for a workout, there is a disassociation with I want to say the pain and quit element of working out. Now that you become disassociated. But what Mandy said is also correct about being more in your body. When you consume cannabis before you work out or before you do exercise, you actually become more aware of some of your muscles and how you're using them and how to correctly work out and form and these type of things. And it just, for me, it used to just enhance my workout in such a way that, again, I will check off this article and say it made me work out more, because now I'm looking forward to cannabis use before my workout and cannabis use to start my day, So that the two things kind of went hand in hand. I used cannabis, then I worked out, and that began my day. So yeah, I agree with this article 100%. I want to see more articles like this. I love when we talk about athletes and cannabis use and how it enhances their ability to recover and focus and to train and do the necessary things and use a 100% natural medication in doing so.
Absolutely, and I completely agree with that too, Luke, about how I feel if I'm, whether it's basketball or soccer or whatever it is, when I'm high and I'm playing basketball, even if I'm by myself at the park, I'm like really hyper focused on my form, on little micro elements of your body movement that I don't feel like I'm that in tune with or focused on otherwise. But yeah, in line with this article with Grind, we have some pretty cool ideas on how we can dig into some of these studies in more detail and identify, hopefully, particular cannabinoids or terpenes or mixtures and compounds that can complement workouts in different ways. So this is the type of news I love.
Yeah, no.
Propaganda that this is an amotivational component to it. You can poke holes in it everywhere, but when I was raised, it was the lazy Mexican that smoked weed that we had to deal with, that amotivational thing. Then it became the lazy stoner, into the 60s as I was learning about weed and things. That theme's been carried along. And as athletes step up and go, hey, I'm a goat, motherfucker. I smoke weed in the summertime, and I may take some CBD after, get my joints back in control. The amotivational shit goes away. But it's hard. That's the battle we're having. People still want to believe that cannabis causes you to be lazy and, do sexually deviant shit, stuff like that. No, it's not true. But still have to have a study to show us what we all know. I like gummies for a workout. Some people can't use THC for their workout. It's individual. There's no shame in that. Don't worry about it. But it helps you use it. And don't pay attention to the naysayers, especially when they think they know what they're talking about. They really are just so full of shit it's coming out their ears.
I think one thing about that too is if you smoke and you go to work out and it's not enjoyable, most people will just stop doing it. Like you're just not going to do it again. It's not. You don't have any obligation to continue.
You're in the hallway unconscious. I was just meaning to go down and lift the weights, but I woke some up and laying here unconscious. Somebody help me.
It is unconscious. They said unresponsive, which maybe he just had his headphones on and wasn't responding to the questions because he was so stoned.
I'll tell you what helped you figured out what we should do. We ice water in their eardrum. You are not unresponsive unless.
Where'd you guys go?
We're right.
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all
where'd you go?
No, Dale, I just all of a sudden dropped off on the sound.
Dale froze off a little bit.
Yeah, Dale froze off.
He's back though.
He's back. He's back. I love it.
People are going all the time. I got kids and grandkids, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that. Oh man, thank you all for another episode tuning in to High at 9 News. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Thank you to all tuning in every day, and thank you to our sponsors as well as thank you, correspondents, for coming in and spending your time with us today. We really appreciate all of your insight. And do any of you have any closing words for today?
Yeah, let me tap in and say it's Friday. Come over and see us. We're going to be at CBCB. Cannabis Buyers Club of Berkeley, the one and only. And it doesn't get more legacy than this. Profit Brands is going to be there from 4 to 7. Come over and tap in and check us out this Friday. Yes, it's going to be live. It's awesome. Come over and check us out. Jason, man, I hope that you can make it up here, brother. I'm going to be waiting for you at the SAC airport to pick you up.
Oh man, at the SAC airport to go to Berkeley, that's a long ways, bro. That's a long drive right there.
We're gonna make a couple pit stops on the way over. We'll grab Neil. We're gonna tap in with a couple of bros.
What's the matter? You don't want to just pick me up in Oakland, huh?
I try to stay as much as possible nowadays, unless you really got to be there. You know what I mean? Oakland right now, the boys over there got things going on. I just choose to stay out of it.
You don't have to worry about getting bipped with me because I fly with no luggage.
Baggage, baby.
Yeah.
To all the ladies out there, Jason comes with no baggage.
Yeah, I bet. Thank you all. Y'all have an amazing day. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and the show will be better. I do apologize for all the technical difficulties, you guys. We did try, and not sure technology, but I will get better. I promise you guys that.